Hey folks, welcome to today's edition of Shop Talk. And we're just sitting here today having some serious planning meetings at concealedcarry.com headquarters. And we're just going to go out to the warehouse here and let me show you something pretty cool. Let's see here. If I go down, I think it's this aisle right here. So today we're going to talk about cleaning. I'm actually going to clean my Glock 19 on camera. And I'm going to use some products that will be familiar to some of you, like Pig Lube. And so we've got a whole bunch of this sitting here in the warehouse. And we got some other great cleaning products as well, available all for sale on our website. And so I got a special deal and coupon code for you. But today, come along for the ride. We're going to talk about cleaning a handgun. I'm going to walk you through the process that I follow. I know this will be different from probably many of you, but this is the process that I follow. And it's never let me down. It's always worked for me. So, just so we know that we're good, I have this Glock 19, my personal firearm here, with the XS F8 night sights. I love these sights. They're really sweet sights. You see here, it's clear. All right, guys? Empty chamber there. No magazine. All right? So, we're clear. Let's break down this Glock 19 and talk about cleaning. So, let's see here. I'm going to get the camera oriented down this way. What is up, Charlie and Bobby and Tris and Brad? What is up, guys? Howdy, howdy. All right, let's see if we can tighten that down. Okay, hopefully you can see this all right. Hey, Michael, what's up, dude? Good to have you on today. Delana, hello. Cammie, Alfred, Chad, Matt, Mitch is watching. Good to have you all, guys. Okay, so Glock 19, it's clear, and I'm going to walk you through my cleaning process, all right? So let's just talk about cleaning a handgun. Today I've got all kinds of, this is my range bag. This is the, crap, what's this called, Jacob? The handgunner's backpack, GSM Outdoors. There you go. This is available also on our site. Really cool bag. I love this bag. I can carry my guns down here, cleaning gear. You know, I got Ear Pro, I got Eye Pro, I've got shooting gloves, I've got all kinds of stuff. So and here's one of my favorite parts is the magazine storage and organization. Because I'll go to the range sometimes and have, several different handguns, and I'll have tons of different mags, and I can stick them in these pockets and stuff on the side. Really great for organization and making easy to have everything in one place when you go to the range. So GSM Outdoors handgunner backpack, pretty sweet deal. Maybe sometime for Shop Talk we'll do a video about what I put in here and how I set it up, okay? Hey Michael, good day to you too, sir. And Ron, hey guys, Skylar, Alfred, Steven, spending time cleaning the guns. Yeah, I needed an excuse to clean my guns. I've been too busy, so perfect opportunity to do it on Shop Talk. Hey Chad, ham and cheese sandwich. Awesome, guys. So today I'm going to be using a few products. I have this real Avid, it's called the Boar Boss. These are really cool, similar to, folks were probably familiar with a boar snake. So real Avid makes some really cool products. I really like their stuff, and their Boar Boss works really well. Charlie says, love that bag, keeps everything I need in one sweet package. You got it, buddy. And this is another Real Avid product here. I'll just show you. Guys, if you're not familiar with Real Avid, you got to go check them out. We got several of their products available for sale in our store. We really like Real Avid stuff. This is one of their, this is like a armor's kind of tool. When we got a little punch, we got all kinds of screwdriver bits, Allen keys and wrenches, a knife blade, all kinds of stuff. Plus a tool for taking down your 1911. So really, really good stuff. Carl says, get on with it. Okay, Carl. What are we talking about here? Cleaning. Boar Boss. Sometimes I use this also for cleaning. I've got in here some Rand products. Really like Rand. So this is Rand CLP. Really, really good lubricant. Also works pretty good for cleaning. Obviously, CLP, cleaner, lubricant, and protectant. One of the things I like about Rand CLP that's different from some of their competitors is that this has what they call nanoparticle technology in it. So it's a lubricant with nanoparticles, and if you don't know what that is, it's like a whole bunch of little tiny microscopic level ball bearings. And it's legit, okay? So like the little tiny microscopic pieces of metal ball bearings basically in this lubricant, and I think it really, really works. Rand CLP, this is their bore and bolt solvent. This works really good too. And here's another Rand product. I use this a lot too. Their HOG grease. HOG stands for Heavy Applications Weapon Grease. I dig it. Other products I really like and I use a lot of, and I've got some pig lube here on the table. We just pulled that out of the box over there. And also their pig lube cleaner, their PLC. And I have a larger bottle of PLC you see here I keep in my range bag all the time. I'm actually going to clean with PLC today because I think it really works really well, guys. So I use PLC exclusively on all my cleaning now. What I like about PLC is it doesn't leave, like, it's not very solvent-y, if you get what I mean. Like, it doesn't even smell that strong. It's not very toxic or anything like that. I don't know that I would drink it, but it's less toxic. It doesn't smell terrible. It doesn't leave a lot of weird residues that some other solvents will do sometimes. PLC, the pig lube cleaner, works really, really well. And then also the pig lube lubricant, I'm a big believer. And also here's the other thing. I told you that Rand CLP uses nanoparticle technology. Pig lube is the other lubricant that I'm familiar with that also uses nanoparticle technology, and it works really, really, really good. So I've not had any problems at all with my guns running on pig lube. The other cool thing about pig lube is it comes with this really slick applicator. It's actually like a lip gloss applicator, right? And the guys over at Pig Lube said, hey, why can't we make that work for applying lubricant on a firearm? You can get it in some areas that are sometimes difficult to get it into, and it doesn't leave a lot of, it's not messy. So, if I was to open up my Rand CLP, it's just a top, with a little hole, and it's going to dribble out, and that's going to run all over the place. So I think the applicator is one of the coolest aspects of Pig Lube. And so this episode brought to you by Pig Lube. Well, Pig Lube is one of the things that you can save some dough on this week with the coupon code CLEAN20. You're going to save 20% off any Pig Lube product. That includes so they have cleaning kits as well. Here's the actual cleaning kit. This is the Pig Lube cleaning kit. So this is another product you can save 20% off on. And you can see this comes with, again, I have some PLC in there. Actually, this is missing some stuff. I just realized. I have several of these laying around, and this is kind of a bare bones one. But you can get this with brushes and all kinds of attachments and things as well. So Pig Lube cleaning kit, really, really cool to have. I think Jacob's going to grab one of the complete ones over there. And there we go. Sweet. See, there we go. Jacob is on it. There you go. That's the fully kitted Pig Lube cleaning kit. Okay, you can save 20% of these. Use the coupon code CLEAN20. Guess what, guys? You can also save 20% off on Rand products. CLEAN20. So that's the deal this week, all right? Brought to you by ShopTalk. Hey, Gary, nice of you to join us from Indiana. It'll be that long. Come on, guys. All right, so apparently I'm supposed to clean this gun or something. Let's clean it. I just wanted to go over all the different products that I sometimes use. There is one other thing that I'm missing here that gets a lot of use, and that is a cleaning brush. This one looks really dirty, probably is, but we're going to use it today anyway. So the Glock is clear. I'm going to make sure I'm in a safe direction, press the trigger, and take down the Glock. All right? Just because this is how I operate, I always like to start with the upper portion of the gun. I start with the slide, and so I'm going to take out the recoil spring. Now, I don't really do a lot with cleaning or lubricating on recoil springs, unless it's like a spring that goes over top of a rod. I'll put maybe a little bit of lube on the rod itself. On these captured springs, like what a lot of semi-automatics come with today, there's not really a need to do much there lubricant-wise, at least that I've seen. Occasionally, maybe I'll throw a little drop or two of lube on, but it usually doesn't require much. I don't even bother cleaning those types of recoil springs. It's just not worth the time, in my opinion. I'll pull the barrel out. Okay, I'll set that aside. So I'm going to start right here on the slide itself. All righty. Hey, Anita, nice of you to join us as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my Pig Lube cleaner, and I'm just going to spray on here fairly liberally.
Riley, is that a heavy-duty tungsten guide rod?
No, this is just a standard, this is a factory Glock recoil spring assembly, they call it, right? It's an assembly because it's the guide rod and spring all assembled. You know, you can't really break this down, right? So I just sprayed some pig lube cleaner on there, and I am just gonna scrub with my brush. Anywhere I can reach with that brush, all right? And I'm really focusing on the rails and making sure those are nice and clean, and I'm cleaning this underneath side here, okay? See all that? I'm just cleaning that all nice. I'm gonna scrub a little bit on this breech face, all right? And that's pretty much it as far as like the cleaning aspect. I always make sure I have some of these just cheap rags with me. And then so to complete the process here, I'm just gonna take the rag, stick it in the slide, and wipe everything down. Get all that dirt and grime, and I'm just gonna go into all the little crevices that I can reach. Okay, and all that scrubbing I just did, I'm gonna clean all that residue out. Again, I cleaned on the breech face there. Okay, and that's cleaned up pretty good compared to where it was just a moment ago. Maybe I should have given you a before, but that's, you know, per my standard, that's pretty clean. Okay. All right. I'm gonna come back to the frame. Actually, let's jump over to the barrel. On the barrel, I usually just wipe down the outside of it. Occasionally, if you get some really heavy buildup of carbon or whatever on the outside of the barrel, then I might use a little bit of solvent or something to help get that. But generally, especially on these melanited Glock parts like this, I mean, you can see that thing is, I just wiped it down is all I did. And the outside of this it's clean enough, okay? I know some of you are like super into cleaning your guns. Now on my hunting rifle that gets used a couple of times a year, gets, you know, taken outdoors in the rain, in the snow, in the mud, stuff like that, and then it sits in the safe for you know, sometimes months at a time. I clean that very thoroughly and make sure that things are well lubed and that there's a nice little light coating of oil on everything. But on a carry pistol, there's just not, in my opinion, as much need to do this like super detailed cleaning job all the time. Frankly, on my carry gun, I'm shooting it all the time. It's getting dirty all the time. And so this is my cleaning process. I'm doing some talking, but typically I can break this Glock down and clean this in 10 minutes or less. Anyway, wipe down the outside of the barrel. Then I'm going to grab the bore boss. And this is really cool because similar to like a bore snake, we have a brush here that's going to help get the heavy, nasty grime, the stubborn stuff. And then that follows with this rope, basically, right? This is going to fill that whole barrel and chamber area and pull all that grime out. So we're just going to drop this through the barrel. And then on the bore boss product itself, there's this little bit here, okay? You see that? And all I got to do is hook this little ball into that part of the handle, all right? Like so. It gives me a nice handle. This is not as necessary on a handgun barrel because it's not that long or difficult, but on a rifle, you're gonna really appreciate the extra leverage that this gives you, okay? And then I'm just gonna pull that through. All right, that's one pass, and we'll repeat that a couple more times. So typically on my barrels, I will do 3 minimum, and sometimes 4 or 5 passes, and I'll just keep doing passes like this until I'm satisfied with how it looks. I'm gonna do 3 before I check. All right.
For those who have asked, the bore boss is $9.99.
$9.99 for this thing. Really, really affordably priced. And we can take a look down that barrel. You see that in the camera. Nice and shiny. Like, that's surprisingly clean. No solvent, anything like that. I'll take a look at the chamber area itself. It looks pretty good as well. I don't see any buildup or anything really. So the one thing that I might do a little extra is I'll put a little bit of solvent on the feed ramp itself and take my brush and just make sure that gets a little bit extra cleaning. If it's got a little bit of buildup, sometimes I see some buildup there. And then I'll come back with my rag again and wipe that down. So now the feed ramp is clean, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and just do one more pass with the Bore Boss. All right. Here we go, give you a little close-up. Watch how this thing comes through. Brush, rope. There we go. That's all I do on the barrel. That's it. Wipe down the outside, maybe a little extra cleaning on the feed ramp, Bore Boss or Bore Snake through 3, 4, 5 times. Take a look at it. It looks shiny and clean. Good to go. Calibers that the Bore Boss comes in all kinds of calibers. Obviously, I'm working with the 9mm one today. The 9mm one is labeled as 9mm, 357, and 38 because it's going to work on all those. You know, 9mm is technically a 357 caliber size. It's also going to work on 380. Also available in 22 caliber. And that's going to work on your 22 rim fires as well as your 223 5.56 ones. 12 gauge shotgun, 20 gauge shotgun, 40 cal, 45 caliber. Actually, it does list a 22 cal and a 223 cal separately. All right, and a 308. I mentioned the 9mm 357 38 as well, and then the 243 260 6.5 millimeter, and the 270 280 7 millimeter. So, actually, maybe a few extras there. Jacob's got this on the screen for me, but it comes in most of your common calibers. All right, so there may be a few oddball calibers that are not available, but for most of your common ones, Bore Boss works really, really great.
Do you need to clean the rope?
Occasionally. So Jacob just asked if you need to clean this.
Anita asked.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Oh, hi, Anita. Didn't see your comment there. So I've used products like this for a long time, like Bore Snake and whatnot. I don't clean them hardly that often, but I have occasionally cleaned them, and I'll just stick them under the sink with a little bit of like Dawn dish soap or whatever, and I'll just run it through hot water, get some soap on it, scrub it up, just like you're hand washing clothes or socks or something. Hang it up to dry. Right? Don't throw it in the dryer or anything like that. Just wash it, hand wash it, hang it up, let it dry. Michael says, I have that cleaning mat on my bench. Yeah, bro, this is my favorite cleaning mat. So yeah, this is the Guardian Nation cleaning mat that comes in every Guardian Nation member's welcome kit. So yeah, you guys should have one of those. What brushes come in the Pig Lube kit? That's a good question, Tris. We have 9mm, 40, 45, and then 223. And this is actually the chamber brush for an AR. Okay, so it's your common handgun calibers and then AR-15. So it's very kind of carbine and self-defense oriented, handgun type calibers. Certainly you can order or add additional brushes, but that's what comes in the kit. So it's a pretty decent kit that'll get you through most of the stuff that you're going to need. Chris, what brand of lube solvent do you use? I talked about in the beginning of the video, but Pig Lube products and Rand products is what we're using here today, and that's what is on sale this week, only for 20% off. All right, so what have I done so far? I've cleaned my slide. One thing I did not mention is that I generally keep some Q-tips in my cleaning kit. So I have some Q-tips here, and sometimes for those harder to reach areas, I'll put just a little bit of Pig Lube cleaner, just so it gets a little bit saturated here. And I'll come into some of these smaller areas, like right back here. This was a little bit tough to get in there with the brush and get that adequately cleaned. And then sometimes in and around the striker safety, you can see that had kind of some areas a little bit harder to reach. And the rest of it looks pretty solid. So, I just had a couple of spots I needed to hit with the Q-tip there on the slide. And then I can come in with the other end of the Q-tip and clean those out nice and thoroughly as well. Just make sure I'm not leaving any residue behind. Okay, slide is done. Let's go now back to the barrel. Occasionally I'll see a little extra grime in this area, and I'll use a Q-tip on there. And then if I notice any sort of carbon buildup inside the chamber, I'll use a Q-tip with some solvent, and Pig Lube cleaner solvent gets it done. Like, that's all you got to do. I'll wipe it in there, wipe it out, and that thing looks really good. Let's move over to the frame now of the gun. So again, what I'll do is I'll take some, and actually in this case, I don't like to spray solvent all over. Now this solvent won't damage the gun. It's just that I'm not trying to do a real deep cleaning, so I don't need solvent getting deep into the working action bits of the gun. So what I'll do is actually I'll just take some solvent, spray it onto my brush so I don't get more than what I need. And then I'll come in here and I'll scrub the rails. I'm trying to be conscious. I'm like, I feel stuff flicking off of here, and Jacob's computer is right close. And then a lot of times you get a lot of carbon buildup down in this area of the gun. It's just below the chamber, so there's a lot of blowback from the firing of the gun. That gets really dirty, so I'll go in there with the brush and clean that and clean out the mag well a little bit. The upper part of the mag well generally gets pretty dirty as well. So I'll just run that brush in there. Scrub, 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 rub-a-dub, right? And now I'm going to go back with my rag and clean up any excess and residue left behind. And this is definitely where I'm going to find that the Q-tips come in handy. So I'm going to get a fresh one here. I'm going to get a little bit of solvent on the tip. Now, these are just standard Q-tips. It is probably recommended. There are some companies that make some Q-tips specific for cleaning guns. And generally the difference is that they won't fray and pull off bits of cotton and stuff. I just use the standard Q-tips nowadays, and I just try to make sure I'm careful and not leave little bits of cotton behind. So I use the Q-tip and pay attention, and if I see anything left behind, I'll go back in. And sometimes with tweezers, you know, dig stuff out. But if I'm careful and I'm careful not to snag it on things, then generally the standard Q-tip works just fine. So I'm just using this to get into some of the tighter areas of the gun. Right in this spot here is kind of tricky, okay? And down in this part here, I know it's hard to see on the camera and all, but do the best I can. So that's what I'm using the Q-tip for. I'm going to call that pretty good. Use the dry end of it, and now I'm going to pick up all the leftover residue and grime and stuff. All right? Come back down in here. Make sure this is all nice and clean and dry. How's my mag well looking? Looks pretty decent. It's not perfect. So once a year, I do a very, like an armorer's level cleaning. I am a Glock armorer, so is Jacob here. And so once a year, I'll take guns completely apart, and I will do a very, very, very deep clean once a year, generally. But as far as my everyday, every week type stuff, this is, you know, what I'm showing you here, this is what I do, you know, on a regular basis. What about using a can of compressed air to blow out residue? I have occasionally done that. Sometimes I don't have that compressed air handy, so I don't have it here with me. So it's nice when you have it. It definitely helps. So yeah, that's a great tip, Ron. So folks, compressed air. Sometimes I'm able to do this out in my garage, and I have a compressor, and I can just, you know, shoot a bunch of air into the gun and get everything blown out and get it also dry before I apply lubricant. And then also just little cans that you can buy at like Office Depot. Those work pretty well as well. Let's see. Just kind of glance. I know Jacob and a few others are responding to some questions, but yeah, cool. All right, I'm going to keep going. All right. So I've got this basically to a level of clean. You know, I'll get a close up here, and you can see. Maybe that'll focus. Maybe I'm too close. But it's not perfect. There's a little bit of, you know, you could see if you were really nitpicking, you'd find a little bit of dirt, a little bit of grime here and there. But this is the level of cleaning I do very normally on a regular weekly basis, or after I get back from the range from cleaning or from shooting. So why don't I do a deeper clean? Because I don't think you have to. I think actually that what is most important where it comes to the guns like this, especially a well-built self-defense gun, it's far more important that you lubricate well and lubricate often than it is to actually clean the gun. I've seen guns where they're basically never cleaned, but they're lubricated regularly, and they will run and run and run for thousands and thousands of rounds. I've done gun tests. On the P365 review I did this year, actually this last year technically, I ran both of the guns I tested for that review. One of the guns was over 3,000 rounds for that gun. The other one was about 2,000 rounds. and neither one of them did I clean really at all throughout that whole process, other than like if something was really bad. Like I ran the bore boss through the barrel a couple of times, but as far as like the innards, you know, the rails of the gun, stuff like that, I didn't really do much there. I just made sure I regularly lubed. So that's really the key, I think, to keeping a gun running. People talk about cleaning a lot, and some people are very anal and OCD about the cleaning, and that's cool, like that, if that's your thing. But I shoot often enough, and I shoot enough different guns sometimes when I'm at the range, that I don't have the time to just like clean everything perfectly every time I get back from a range trip. Frankly, I despise cleaning the guns. So I've developed a very simple approach to cleaning the gun that gets it to an acceptable level, and then I make sure I lube well. So let's talk about lubrication now. Scott says, keep the barrel clean and clear of obstructions. That is pretty much all that's really important, as long as the gun is well lubed. What's up, Nate? Nice to have you check in, Nate. Good to have you. Let's see. Thomas, the barrel is the easiest part to clean. That is true. And you saw I did very little. Wipe it down, run the bore boss through it. We're done. All right, so I've gone through cleaning everything. Let's talk about lubrication. What I'm going to talk about right now is somewhat specific to Glocks, but there's some general principles here too that apply to just about any semi-automatic handgun. First of all, if you don't have an instruction booklet for your gun, or if it doesn't cover very specifically the type of lubrication or the areas that you're supposed to lubricate in very detailed fashion, then one good rule of thumb is to look at your gun and anywhere you see wear points. So we see actually in the top of this slide where the barrel hood passes by, there's a little bit of wear there. So that tells me I've got some metal rubbing on metal. So anywhere we can find metal rubbing on metal, where we see wear points, that's a really good starting point for some lubrication. So that's the first thing that I would say about lubrication. Bill says make sure the ramp is clean, and yeah, I covered that a little bit already, and I did see a little bit of powder residue on this feed ramp, and I just did a little bit of solvent there, scrubbed it a little bit, wiped it clean. It's good to go. All right. And Thomas says something about magazines, and I'll come back to that here in just a minute. So as far as lubrication, again, I'm going to use some pig lube here, and I am actually going to just put a little bit of lubricant right up here on those wear points. See that? I kind of made just a rectangle because that's literally what I had. It was basically a rectangular wear area there. So I've lubricated that. All right. I'm not going to throw more lubrication on the top of the barrel because I already have lubricant where that's going to meet. All right. So I'm very practical and straightforward about how I do this. I'm going to go back in again using the really nifty applicator, the pig lube here. On the barrel itself, I'm going to put a little bit of lubricant right here. That's the mating surface with the slide. I'm going to put a little bit, you see on the side of the barrel, a little bit of wear there. I'm going to put just a little, it doesn't take a lot, but I'm going to put a little lubricant on the side of the barrel of the actual chamber area. Now, don't put any on your feed ramp. Don't put it inside. You don't want to do that, okay? And then what do we see on the barrel itself? We see a little bit of wear right there, and we see a little bit of wear on the underneath side. So we know, and what's happening there is it's passing through these holes on the slide, right? And that's where it's getting a little bit of wear. So what I will do is I'll take some pig lube, and I'll put a little bit there, and I'll just kind of work it all around the slide, or around the barrel itself. A little bit of lube. It goes a long way. And I'll slide this back in the slide, all right? I've got all of the wear points on the barrel itself lubricated. That's going to work very well. Recoil spring assembly back into the gun. Again, I only use a little lubricant on the recoil spring assembly when I feel like it's needed, and or depending on the design of the recoil spring and guide rod itself. On my Sig Sauer P320 X5, it's a recoil spring over top of a guide rod, and it gets a little bit more wear, I think, than this type of recoil spring assembly does. I'll put a little bit of lubricant on that, but I don't do a lot. Okay. Oh, actually, before I get that recoil spring in there, I forgot. I will take some lubricant, and I will just run this applicator down that rail right there. I'll get a fresh dab of lubricant, and I'll go down this rail over here. Okay? All the way down that rail. All right? Now in the case of a Glock, it recommends basically a drop or two of lubricant in each of the rails. It recommends a drop or two on each of the opposing rails on the frame itself. And there's two other critical places that Glock recommends that you put some lubricant. On the frame itself, it recommends that you put a little drop of lubricant inside the connector, and that's that hook-shaped thing. And I can actually get in there with my applicator and push in there, and it'll get a little bit of lubricant inside the connector. Also on a Glock, it recommends that you lubricate this point of the slide, that kind of that bump out, and that's what actually makes contact with the connector and resets it between shots. That's what actually allows your trigger to reset. In the case of a Glock, I actually like to use the hog grease. I know it's upside down and backwards. Sorry, I don't have control over on the Facebook Live app here. But I will take a little bit of lube, this hog grease, and I will apply it right where that mating surface is with the connector. And that's always done me very well. Okay, so now that I've got the slide lubricated, I'm going to come back to the frame because I haven't done that yet. And I'll just get some fresh application of the pig lube, and I will just hit all these rails. And I will put, this is just me, but I'll put a little bit on the trigger bar piece that sticks up and makes contact with the striker safety, the little round button here. Put a little lubrication on that, it can't hurt. The one thing you don't want to do is there's a hole here inside of a Glock, and this is true on several semi-automatic models out there, not just Glock, but Springfield and SIGs. You don't want to put any lubrication down in that hole. That hole is actually intended to be a weep hole for foreign debris to drop out of the striker channel. If you put lubrication, if you put grease and oil and stuff inside that weep hole, you're actually going to plug up your striker channel, and it'll actually attract dirt instead of remove dirt from that striker channel. So if you start having light primer strikes, it can be because of a dirty striker channel.
Riley, do you recommend cleaning a new gun and removing the gold shipping lube?
So, by the way, Glocks are shipped with a special lubricant. It's kind of a coppery color. That is intended to be in the gun for the break-in period of the Glock, of the Glock pistol. So in the case of Glocks, you're not supposed to clean that thoroughly and remove all that coppery colored lubrication. That is intended for the break-in period of the gun. In the case of like a Sig Sauer, that comes with kind of some packing grease. You know, a lot of times, this is just me, like, yes, the recommendation, and this is true from Sig Sauer themselves, you're supposed to like clean the gun and clean that stuff out and then go to the range and shoot. I get a new gun, I'm so excited, I just take it to the range and shoot it, man. And if it starts having problems, then I break it down and clean it. But I've actually never had any problems really with guns because I didn't clean it before I took it to the range and shot it. Now I will apply some lubrication. I'll take some pig lube or something and put it on a new gun because I think that's totally legit. But I don't like do a thorough cleaning of the gun before I take it to the range and shoot it.
How many rounds for break-in?
I just saw that. Yeah, so how many rounds for break-in? I think it depends on the gun. And not all manufacturers are very clear if there's any sort of break-in, okay? Like, I don't know that that's a published thing a lot of times in the manuals even. Some of them will tell you, but many of them do not. For me personally, if it's a gun that I'm going to use for personal defense, I like to know that gun works. I like to do at least a 500 round break-in / testing period and make sure that through 500 rounds the gun's functioning like it should. There's no malfunctions, that it runs the ammunition that I'm going to shoot in it reliably. So at least 500 rounds is kind of my standard. And depending on the gun, I might go a little bit more beyond that, but at least 500 rounds. So Thomas, if I was to answer that, this is a personal thing for me, but I believe in a 500 round break-in. Okay, that's just for me. And then see, so Chad just says, didn't know that about Glocks. I'm assuming you're referring to that coppery lubricant. Yeah, so I'm glad you learned something new today. All right, so that's all I do to clean a self-defense, like a fighting pistol. Is I kind of do a real basic cleaning. I make sure I do a really solid lubrication job. What we'll notice now compared to before, this gun was actually quite dirty when I started cleaning it, but this is all moving very, and I know it doesn't look any different to you, but I can feel the difference. This feels nice and smooth and slick. It wasn't terrible before because I had lubricated the gun recently. I just hadn't really done a very good cleaning recently. There's still a little bit of grittiness there, but I had lubricated it enough to where it would have been just fine. Let's talk about magazines real quick. This is not a Glock mag, this is a SIG mag. But in the case of magazines, probably about once, it really depends on how many rounds you fire, but probably about once every 2,000 to 3,000 rounds, I think, is probably adequate. You should probably break down your magazines and clean them as well. So most magazines have some sort of takedown kind of pin thing that you know, or latch that you have to push in and release. You want to make sure you keep your thumb over the top of the bottom of the magazine. Pull this base pad off, and now I can release slowly the spring. This is a plastic thing that actually locks into the base plate. Here's the spring, and there's the follower. So about once every 2,000 to 3,000 rounds is about kind of the general schedule that I follow. And I will use a little bit of not lubricate, but like a cleaner like this, like PLC. And I'm not going to do it for you on camera right now, but I'll just spray some in there. And I find a rag that is small enough. And to be honest with you, they make special brushes and things that you can actually clean magazine bodies with. But I'll just take like a rod and a rag like this, and I'll just stuff it through until I can pull it out the other end. And believe it or not, this rag, even though it's a pretty good sized rag, I know because I've done this before, I can stuff that through, and I can pull this through the magazine body. And actually just doing that with that dry rag cleaned out a lot of junk out of the magazine body here. I'll take a little cleaner and just kind of wipe off the spring a little bit. I'll make sure that the follower's clean. And then you're not really supposed to put any lubricant in magazines typically. I occasionally will put like the lightest coating possible. I mean, literally hardly anything at all. I'll put a very, very, very light coating of oil on a follower occasionally, just depending on if I feel like I'm having any sort of issues with the follower on that particular magazine. In the case of this is a SIG P320 X5 mag. It's good to go. So that's really all there's to it to cleaning mags is a little bit of solvent inside the mag body, pull a rag or something through it, clean it out, and then put it back together. There's not much to it. I'll see if I can get this back together in first try. There we go, wasn't too bad. So yeah, it's a good idea though to periodically clean your magazines. I always clean and oil the spring in. Okay, so here's the thing with magazines and lubricants. Mags get dropped, at least in my world they do, in dirt and stuff pretty frequently. And so when you have lubricants, when you have grease, anything like that inside the magazine body itself, that will attract dust and dirt. So typically if you put lubricants inside your magazine on your follower or springs, you will be cleaning them more often because you're going to get more dirt inside that magazine because it's going to, I could drop this magazine in the dirt, and if it gets some dirt in there, I can kind of shake it out. It'll come out because the magazine itself is basically dry. If you have lubrication in there, the dirt will attract to that lubricant. So that's why I don't recommend doing a lot of oil or lubrication inside the magazine body itself. Like I said, occasionally I put just a very, very, very thin coating on the follower itself. The spring really is not an issue in most cases, guys. The spring makes a little bit of contact with the magazine body, but it's not usually enough that it's going to cause any sort of malfunction. If anything, you might have an issue with the follower itself. So that's why I might occasionally, just depending, I kind of learned from experience that, well, on this magazine versus that magazine, I need to do maybe a light coating of lubricant on the follower, but I almost never do that even. So yeah, you're welcome, Chad. Guys, that's pretty much it. That's my process for cleaning my handguns. It's really simple and straightforward. It's not thorough enough for some of you. I get that. But I really just believe strongly in lubricating well but cleaning only as necessary. So that's my philosophy. Question from Michael. Can you buy a larger takedown pin tool on the website or at a hardware store? I don't know what we have really as far as takedown pins.
Just the one that's on that piston tool.
But, you know, I recommend there's some products from, what's the company? I might even have some in here. I can't think of the company all of a sudden, but there's a company that's well known for making gunsmithing tools, and they have some really nice punch sets. You might go on, I don't think we sell anything like that, but you might go on like Midway USA or Brownells. Brownells is a really good source for good quality gunsmithing tools, and just get yourself a nice punch set. I do have some nice punches. I don't think I have them here with me today, but yeah, that's what I would suggest. Thanks, guys, for your support. I'm glad this was helpful for you. Sean, Brad, Nate, thanks, buddy. Cammie. Yeah, I hope that's helpful for you. I mean, I think it's fun and fascinating to see how different people do different things. Cleaning is one that, you know, there's a million different ways to do it. But this has been the method I followed for years, and it's never let me down. Wheeler, thank you, Charlie. Wheeler is the brand that makes a lot of gunsmithing type tools. So yeah, they worked well enough for me. Thanks, guys. We're gonna let you go again this week only. Pig Lube products, the cleaning and lubrication products, as well as their cleaning kits like this, really cool kit, as well as any of the Rand products, bore and bolt cleaner, Rand CLP, and one of my favorites, the hog grease. All this week only, on sale, 20% off. Use the coupon code CLEAN20 and go clean your guns. Thanks, we'll see you.